Hello, my IBMOR brothers, back again. This time we're going to revisit our old standby. Why black men go MGTOW or black men go IBMOR. We're going to be talking about the twin mating strategy of women, which is the alpha fucks and the beta bucks, or for lack of a better term, the alpha male or the genetically alpha male versus the beta provider male. I've done 2 videos on this dynamic, and I've showed charts and graphs and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of empirical evidence, but this time we're going to get it from the horse's mouth. The first audio cut is going to come from Miss Bolden. She's a dating and marriage counselor, and she's going to give us the raw, uncut P-Funk on how women get and treat beta provider males, what they need them for, and why they need them. And as Obsidian says, they need them for resources, domestic help, and non-sexual companionship. And the second cut we're going to listen to is going to be the male side, which is from Alan Roger Curry, who is a pickup and relationship guru for men, and also a world famous ladies man. He will tell you that he's the type of guy that the women seek during their relationships or during their marriages to satisfy their alpha male lust, often in secret and unknown to the beta provider male. So this is going to be a rare peek into 2 sides of the same coin. And guess who is in the middle between the resource-seeking female and the sought-after alpha male? The person in the middle that supplies the substance is, guess who? The beta provider male. And guess who that happens to be? It happens to be the 80 to 90% of us. So without further ado, I give you Miss Bolden.
That's all.
I think if you're saying what is it about them being into the kink, I think it's a couple of things. I think it's about an identity in hopes to gain a commitment. So what I mean by that is if I'm doing these tricks per se in the bed, that will set me apart, because the assumption is that most black women are not kinky, right? That's the lie that we told ourselves, and it's evident that we engage in a lot of different things. If you look at porn, there's black women doing all types of things where at once we thought only white women did that, and so it's a way to set themselves apart in hopes to gain some type of special status with the male in hopes to gain commitment. And then later on, when the relationship persists and progresses, then the trickery begins where they're like, I really didn't like doing that. I did that to get you to commit. They're not saying it verbally, but that happens in their actions.
That's
for
interesting
instance,
you say that. That's very interesting you say that, Christina, because Tom Likas, who's a very well-known nationally syndicated talk show host, white guy, as well as Alan Roger Curry. They both have talked about this. What Alan Roger Curry refers to it as the marital bait and switch, where a woman will do all kinds of, as you put it, tricks to get into a long-term relationship or marriage, and then they'll cut off the spigot of the tricks after they get locked into a relationship or marriage or whatever. That's very interesting that you
Correct.
seem to be confirming what they've said.
I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I'll give you an example. A girlfriend of mine, she started dating her now husband. They were dating, and every time they got together, she's sucking dick, she's playing with balls, she's fucking in the ass. I mean, she's getting fucked in the ass, doing all these tricks and trades, right? And so what the lie is that she told her now husband that she was truly attracted to him. Because then later on in the relationship, year 7 into the marriage, she's making money, he's making money. They have now 2 children. He's a great father. He's a provider. She brings money to the table. And she says to me, I really could just have sex once a week for about 15 minutes. And she literally lays her leg over to the side, and he climbs on top. And she's just like, I just need him to hurry up. That's all I really need. And I said, wow. Really? And so if that is your approach, one, you got your t-shirt on, you lay your leg over to the side, you're a dead fuck, and he got to beg you for 15 minutes a week. I said, so what did you tell him before you got married? You gave him sex how often? Well, all the time, every time we saw each other. I said, so then now 7 years in a marriage, now you only want 15 minutes a week? And then the way that you're giving it it's lackluster, as if he's nothing. And I said, you're putting him in a position to go elsewhere. So
pretty much.
You just want him for, right? You really just want him for the stuff. The status of I'm married, the status of I have children. So you're not into him sexually because you lied to him. You told that man that he was desirable. You told him that he was attractive. You told him that you loved him mind, body, and soul, physicality, attractiveness, all of this. It was a lie because what now you've told him is that really your dick don't mean nothing to me. Your ability to provide is really all I wanted. Women, when they decide they want to marry, they're seeing that man as an opportunity for status and security. So you're coming at the relationship with two different mindsets. So when a woman gets over 30, right, you're told you're not a woman unless you haven't reached true womanhood unless you are a mother and somebody's wife. And you have women who are focused on, I got to get married by this age, I got to have this house by this age, I got to have this kid by this age to hit the check mark. But never once are they looking for a mate to give to and become a lineage of that man. They're looking for that man to give them a stamp of approval of womanhood. And I think if that is the goal, and actually, and I sent you an email about the book talking about money issues in black male and female relationships.
Yes, we're going to get to that.
And it was,
yeah.
So one of the things there, we're talking about how we as black women have viewed relationships. If you're talking about that, the house Negro, which a lot of women were in the house, right? So they got to witness master way of materialism and, the house, the comfortability. And whereas a lot of men were in the field, and because they were in the field, they wanted freedom, right? So you have the black woman looking at the man like, why can't you give me what master is giving me if you're truly a provider? And so then it begins a trade, right? And so we've been conditioned to be prostitutes, if we really want to know the truth. So we give up sex based on, can you pay for it? Can you provide for it? Can you make me feel secure for it? And so those things impact how do you get two people to come together in relationships and be solid and be healthy and be fruitful, because now it is about trade of my pussy for security. And then that impacts all the things that you're talking about, how I view my man and how I expect him to do certain things. And so therefore my sexuality is determined and my value is determined on the willingness of what I can get for free or at a discount or doing very minimal when it pertains to sex.
There you have it, my IBMOR brothers. Something we've been saying all along about being the beta male or being the beta provider male, especially in marriage. It's an exchange of resources for sexual access. And the woman sees her vagina as the prize. As you heard from her, straight out of her mouth, the goal for the woman is to get the maximum return for her sexual access. So as Obsidian and Alan Roger Curry call it, the marital bait and switch. You're drawn in by a lifetime of sexual access and sexual diversity, and then as soon as the ring is put on, the ceremony's done, and the ink is dry on the contract, all of a sudden all of the promised goods are withdrawn. And with the laws the way they are today, the feminists say you have absolutely no right to her vagina. You have no right to her love. You have become an indentured slave for the next 20 years or until the time she sees fit, where you are no longer useful or viable, and then she will cast you aside only to extract more resources from you afterwards with even less of the promise that you had before. I've seen many a men in my time stuck in this disgusting purgatory where they can't get out. Trading your lifetime labor and hard work and dedication For access to a woman, access to pussy, and kinky sex is a fool's bargain. It always has been and always will be. You can never forget that she doesn't love you the way you love her. And loving a woman, especially in these days and time, is also a fool's bargain, because it's never about you. It's only about her. But let us continue. We're going to hear the player's side of this equation. Miss Bolden has told us about the beta buck side, which is the beta male being entwined into a marriage or tricked into a marriage, and now having to become a plow horse and a workhorse for his wife and family. Now we're going to get into the alpha fuck side, where the wife practices her twin mating strategy by betraying you and your hard work with the sexual alpha male.
I remember Obsidian was doing a show and somebody tried to suggest that he tried to criticize women for choosing one type of man over another. Obsidian show, I don't have a problem with women being attracted to whoever they're attracted to. If a woman is attracted to a guy who, say, is more confident, a more muscular physique, more sex appeal than, say, the more geeky guy, that's her choice. That's her prerogative. But here's where I have the criticism. Here's where the problem really comes in. Let's say two guys. Let's say you got a guy. Michael is the sexy womanizer, and some guy named Wilbert is the geeky beta male. And let's say a woman chooses to have sex with Michael, and she chooses just to be friends with Wilbert. Again, that would be a scenario where that's just her choice. You can't criticize that woman, Michael, over Wilbert. But where you can criticize the woman is if the woman fucks Michael for days, weeks, or months, but because Michael ain't willing to commit to her, or Michael ain't willing to spend no money on her and be monogamous to her, so she gets frustrated and she goes to Wilbert. Michael was an asshole. He was a jerk. He dogged me out. He abused me and gives you basically gives Wilbert a sob story and basically convinces Wilbert to marry her. And she also lies to him and gives him the misleading impression that she finds Wilbert super duper sexy. She's like, "Oh, Wilbert, you are so sexy. I can't wait to be your wife. I'm going to give you head every night. I'm going to ride your dick every night." And Wilbert's like, "Oh, shit, yeah." So they exchange vows, get married. Next thing you know, Wilbert 2 or 3 months without sex. And he finds out that she's still cheating on him behind his back with Michael, the guy who she painted the picture that he was an asshole. See, that's where it's a fucked up situation. Because essentially, Wilbert got tricked. And if there's some guys listening who've been a ladies' man in their day or womanizer in their day, they'll be able to relate to what I'm about to say. I always say this to men. This is when the men who have had the privilege of being a womanizer type guy will truly see women's true colors, is when you've been a woman's other man. If all you've been in your life is a woman's boyfriend, a woman's fiance, a woman's husband, or a woman's platonic friend, you're going to always have a certain naivety about women unless you read one of my books or you get exposed to the manosphere. But for the days of the internet, how I first got exposed to women's true colors, because there were a number of times in my 20s and 30s where I was a woman's other man. And I would see that real side, because I wrote this on Twitter one time. A woman is always going to show you her real side when the only thing she wants from you is dick. Believe that. Write it down if you want to remember. If there's one time a woman's never going to play games, never going to put on facades, she's going to show you her real true side, is when the only thing she wants from you is just some good And there's been at least 24 times, if not more, I've been a woman's other guy, a guy on the side. And I saw how she operated with her husband, her fiance, her boyfriend. And women know how to be manipulative. They know how to be sexually duplicitous. What it comes down to, as it relates to my book and the whole alpha male versus beta male dichotomy, and men have their own dichotomy. I mean, honest men, let's be honest. A lot of men will meet certain women and say, oh, she's just casual sex material. She's just fuck buddy material. I would never marry her. I would never date her in a long-term relationship. And then there's other women we meet where we're like, okay, she's girlfriend material. She's wife material. Well, see, women, essentially, they have that same dichotomy. There's certain men that women meet where they say, I just want him to fuck me. That guy, because I know he ain't going to be faithful. I know he ain't got enough money to support me. So I'm going to just fuck that guy. But then this other guy over here, he's not that good at bed, but he got a 6-figure salary. Me, and I know he's going to be faithful to me, and I know he's going to provide me with dependable, non-sexual companionship. So they play with both. They mess around with both. Here's when I would say it's hard for a woman to leave a guy, and when it's very easy for a woman to leave a guy. I'll start with the easy. If a man is less than average in bed, and on top of that, he really ain't making no money, or he got a lot of financial problems, credit problems, and even on top of that, his personality is kind of boring and whatnot. That's when it's easy for a woman to leave a guy. Let's say a woman meets a guy, and when she first meets him, he's earning 6 figures, and he's very generous with his money. And then, say, a year into the relationship, he loses his job. He's no longer making 6 figures. He's struggling. And again, on top of that, he's less than average in bed. Most women have no problem dumping a guy like that. The hardest guy for a woman to dump is a guy who doesn't necessarily have it going on the financial end, and his personality might be even hard to get along with, but he knows how to fuck her right. Back for good dick. If you got some good dick, women can hate your sense of humor. They can be getting into arguments with you all the time, whatever. But they'll come back to you. And if you got good dick and money, then of course they're going to want to come back. Because that's for most women, that's almost the perfect package. Is if you offer financial security and sexual satisfaction. And those are the men that generally women will usually, there might be exceptions, but usually will at least try their best to be faithful to. And that's the close thing to a man who has it all. The man who offers financial security and sexual satisfaction. But if they can't get both of those in one package, then they're going to compartmentalize. They're going to look for one guy who just offers the good dick, and they're going to look for another guy who just offers the money and the entertaining, easy to get along with personality.
So there you have it. If you didn't believe me, and you didn't believe Christina Bolden, listen to Alan Roger Curry, who's an expert on the subject. Alpha fucks and beta bucks are real. It's a twin mating strategy that is as old as time. Like Alan Roger Curry says, if she can't get one in both, which is her ideal man, she'll compartmentalize. As you see in the chart that I've put up many, many times, the two opposite ends of the scale are the beta provider male, or the beta orbiter, and the bad boy, or the physical alpha male. If she can't rise up to the scale and get the ideal man, she'll compartmentalize, and she'll divide the affections in two. She will get her a beta provider male to be at home to fulfill 90% of her needs, but her sexual needs will always be filled by the sexual alpha that she keeps hidden. So is it no wonder in this day and time when nothing can be hidden that you have a beta male revolution, a beta male uprising in the form of IBMOR and MGTOW. MGTOW is not a cause, it's a symptom. is a symptom of the gynocentric world that we now live in gone mad, where all moral restraint on women is all gone, and men are using this knowledge, these philosophies and these tactics as a defense to protect their money, their life, and their heart. So beware, young man. That old song, "Love is a Battlefield," rings true. And there is no rhyme or reason why this happens. It just does. So until next time, that's all of my time. This is BGS out.